From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. American Muslim human rights group Justice for All is urging a U.S. congressional delegation visiting India to question the human rights situation there. The delegation's visit comes amid reports of attacks on Indian Muslims and Christians. Justice for All urged the 8-member delegation to ask Indian leaders what they are doing to ensure the safety of minorities. In India's northeastern state of Manipur, over 200 churches were destroyed. In another state, 300 Muslim homes were bulldozed last week. Justice for All says that the Indian government does not allow the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom or other human rights investigators to enter India. The bipartisan U.S. delegation will be led by Indian American Congressman Ro Khanna and Congressman Michael Waltz. The group will attend Independence Day celebrations and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech at the Red Fort on August 15th. Delegates will meet with representatives from various sectors, including business, technology, government, and Bollywood. They will also visit Raj Ghat, a historic memorial dedicated to India's freedom icon Mahatma Gandhi. Khanna says that the delegation will travel to India to discuss how to strengthen economic and defense ties between both nations. A federal judge has criticized the FBI for using a manipulative informant to deceive a group of Muslims. U.S. District Judge Colleen McMahon ruled the FBI lured these men into participating in a fictitious plot to destroy military aircraft and synagogues in New York City suburbs. The judge says that the real instigator of the conspiracy was the U.S. government. Shahid Hussain, a paid civilian employee, was involved in several FBI sting operations. One case involved Yasin Arif, a former imam, and Muhammad Hussain, a pizza shop owner. Shahid Hussain, posing as a successful businessman, offered to lend Muhammad Hussain money. This was on the condition that he sell a shoulder missile for an alleged hit on a Pakistani diplomat. Along with Arif, Muhammad Hussain was subsequently arrested, convicted, and imprisoned for money laundering and supporting a terrorist organization. Shahid Hussain, who settled in the Albany area after coming to the U.S. from Pakistan, was accused of murder in his home country. He worked with the FBI to approach individuals suspected of having ties to extremist groups and gauge their willingness to engage in illegal activity. Of all the people he manipulated, had no prior connections to terrorist activities. Arif was deported after serving his sentence. Muhammad Hussain was released in 2020 and lives in Albany. The ruling has raised hopes that the U.S. Department of Justice will reevaluate the fairness of counter-terrorism operations conducted after September 11, 2001 attacks. An estimated 920,000 Floridians are at risk of losing their health insurance coverage in the coming months. As a result, a Muslim-run clinic is seeing an increase in demand as continuous Medicaid coverage provided during the pandemic in Florida and other states is phased out. The Muslim American Social Services Clinic provides free health care and a range of social services to help uninsured adults in Northeast Florida lead healthier lives. It's led by a dedicated team of volunteers committed to helping those in need and is supported by 50 physicians and administrators. The Mass Clinic was founded in 2010 by Faisal Syed, who was inspired by his experiences growing up in poverty in Mumbai. It has facilities for psychological counseling, nutrition classes, assistance with Medicaid applications, and other services. The clinic partners with the nonprofit We Care Jax to connect patients with volunteer providers and hospitals for specialized care. Jax Care Connect is a service used to help uninsured adults in Duval County find primary care. It has made nearly a quarter of its referrals to Mass Clinic since 2021. Now, in its 13th year, the clinic has seen over 30,000 patient visits to date. It's supported by foundations, nonprofits, and donations. Its next goal is to fund a mobile clinic for underserved rural communities. Ohio voters rejected a Republican-backed measure that would have made it more difficult to amend the state constitution. Known as Issue 1, the measure would have raised the threshold for passing future amendments to the state constitution from 50 to 60% of voters. Had the measure passed, abortion rights advocates would have faced the prospect of reaching a supermajority of voters in the fall. In states where abortion opponents, usually Republicans, control the legislature or the governor's office, ballot initiatives have become a powerful tool for rights activists. Some groups opposed to Tuesday's vote stressed the referendum was about abortion and argued it was undemocratic to curtail the power of citizens. With over 1 million votes cast, 60% of Ohioans voted no, while 40% voted yes. A Pakistan-born engineering student is helping the U.S. bridge the nation's digital divide. Taimur ul-Islam, who is studying electrical engineering and computer science, has been working at ARA Wireless Living Lab for 2.5 years. ARA is a platform for advanced wireless research deployed on Iowa State University campus, in Ames, and surrounding rural areas. The lab is the first of its kind to focus on rural broadband networks. Its goal is to develop wireless technologies that can provide affordable, high-capacity connectivity to rural communities and industries. Islam has been involved in all aspects of the ARA project, including planning, procurement, installment, and connectivity. He's also worked with agricultural producers to troubleshoot issues and monitor the project's progress. Sinead O'Connor, buried in Ireland. Details of the story after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Ireland bid goodbye to singer Sinead O'Connor, who is known as Shuhada Sadaqat after her conversion to Islam. Her funeral took place in her hometown of Bray, Ireland. The private funeral procession was led by the country's leading imam, Sheikh Omar Al-Qadri. It was accompanied by dignitaries including the President Michael Higgins and Prime Minister Leo Varadkar. Thousands of supporters paid their last respect at the singer's home. Hundreds of people lined the procession route as it passed through the city. O'Connor was known for her Grammy-winning song, Nothing Compares to You, and her powerful voice. A theologian, she converted to Islam in 2018. O'Connor died in London at the age of 56. The private funeral reflected her Irish Muslim identity. In related news, author Anna Piella, writing in Religion News this week, says Sinead O'Connor was known for her courageous actions. She became famous when she tore up a photo of Pope John Paul II in 1992 to protest the Catholic Church's handling of sexual abuse by priests. Piella says that the action affected her career, but she never regretted it. That moment permanently shaped her public image. Piella says that the media overshadowed O'Connor's spiritual journey. O'Connor adopted the name Shuhada Sadaqat and found solace in Islam. But the mainstream media often downplays the story and treats it as a footnote. Piella wrote that the media was insensitive, with a glaring example of this being obituaries that overlooked O'Connor's Muslim faith. PLS says the media missed an opportunity to combat Islamophobia and celebrate O'Connor's life, which she says is a testament to the complexity of faith, identity, and personal growth. In response to the recent burnings of the Quran, Sweden's Muslim community has tried to shift the focus away from the perpetrators. The community is focused instead on dialogue with the media, police, and the public. Hussam al-Gumati handed out expensive chocolates, laughed and joked with onlookers at Quran burnings. Al-Gumati says he does this to calm angry people and show them that there's a better way to respond to provocations. He said it's important to report incidents of hate speech to the police. Al-Gumati says that the Swedish Muslim community just wants its space and values to be respected, just like other groups. The Quran burnings were organized by far-right groups seeking to provoke a violent reaction from Muslims. The Swedish government has condemned the acts but says it cannot ban them because of the freedom of expression laws. The World Bank will suspend new loans to Uganda due to the country's anti-LGBTQ law. The Washington-based bank decided to halt project financing while it reviews measures aimed at protecting sexual and gender minorities from discrimination. The bank says Uganda's Anti-Homosexuality Act contradicts its values and undermines efforts to eradicate poverty while promoting inclusivity and non-discrimination. Uganda's anti-LGBTQ law has been widely criticized by human rights groups. It imposes severe penalties, including capital punishment, for certain LGBTQ-related activities. The U.S. also imposed travel restrictions on Ugandan officials in response to the law. Despite suspending financing, the World Bank is committed to assisting Uganda's development and helping the country's poor. The U.S. has classified the killing of a Palestinian teenager by Jewish settlers as an act of terrorism, angering right-wing Israeli government officials. Israeli settlers killed the 19-year-old boy in the West Bank village of Burqa. The U.S. State Department called it a terrorist attack and demanded full accountability and justice. It accuses settlers of a premeditated or indifferent murder with racist motives. Far-right Israeli Minister Avi Dichter rejected the U.S. description of the killing. Israeli police arrested the Jewish assailants who killed the boy. One was held under house arrest and another in a hospital. The incident is part of a larger pattern of settler violence against Palestinians. More than 200 Palestinians have already been killed in the occupied Palestinian territories this year. The United Nations has warned of a dramatic increase in violence since Israel's right-wing government took office. In related news, Pope Francis has appointed Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, to the high rank of Cardinal. The appointment is seen as a sign of support for Pizzaballa and Israel's Christian community, which is facing attacks and harassment from right-wing extremists. Pizzaballa says Israel's new far-right government has worsened the lives of Christians and emboldened extremists who harass clergy and destroy religious property. He also said it had become difficult to meet with high-ranking Israeli officials. Deborah Lipstadt, U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, also met with Christian church leaders in Jerusalem to discuss increasing hostility towards Christians. The Israeli Interior Ministry claims it's working to promote religious freedom and protect holy sites, but Christian leaders believe the government is not doing enough. Many Christian leaders believe that the attacks on Christians are part of a broader plan to Judaize Jerusalem's old city. Roughly 185,000 Christians live in Israel and occupied East Jerusalem, just under 2% of the country's population. The vast majority are Palestinians living in Nazareth and Haifa, while about 13,000 live in Jerusalem. Senator Chris Van Hollen called on President Joe Biden to take stronger action against what he describes as racist Israeli action in the West Bank. Van Hollen, who recently visited the region, criticized U.S. military support for Israel's annexation of parts of the occupied territories. He opposes U.S. support that encourages violence by Israeli settlers. Van Hollen argued that White House's inaction strengthens the far-right faction of Benjamin Netanyahu's government. He has suggested investigating whether Israel has violated Leahy's law on human rights abuses by foreign military personnel receiving U.S. aid. Van Hollen has also called on Biden to get personally involved and make clear that the U.S. military aid should not support settler violence or settlement expansion. He accused Israeli Defense Forces of overlooking or cooperating with attacks on Palestinian communities and condemned the action of certain Israeli ministers who violate Palestinian rights. More than 7 million pilgrims visited the Prophet's Mosque in Medina, Saudi Arabia after the annual Hajj pilgrimage concluded last month. Saudi authorities say pilgrims were offered a variety of services, including guidance, translation, assistance for wheelchair users, and distribution of Zamzam water and gifts. The Prophet's Mosque is an important pilgrimage site for Muslims. Many pilgrims also visited the exhibition on the architecture of the mosque. It allows them to learn more about the mosque's history and significance. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.